reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network.
Let this day never be forgotten.
A victory that all Tyria can share.
This is not an ending. There are other dragons out there. Other battles.
You shambling fuzzball. Can't you just be happy?
I was being happy.
Will you return to your queen now, Logan?
No, not until I know that Kryt is safe.
Meaning he's up for more fighting. See? Logan's happy too.
Happiness mode engaged.
Hello.
Welcome.
Ready for action.
Happy to meet you, hero.
Glad to have you with us.
You'll find everything you need here.
Hail, traveler.
Wake up, you motherless Ettins. It's time to go.
I'd offer the traditional pirate's greeting, but your spleen is better unperforated.
You're listening to Guild Wars Reporter on the MMO Reporter Network, brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audibletrial.com/MMOReporter and by Doghouse Systems. Choose your weapon at doghousesystems.com. Welcome to our annual prediction episode. I am Celeste, and as usual, I'm joined by Allona.
Hello, I'm always here.
But since Hunter was here last year, he kind of shoehorned himself in on this year as well.
I was invited.
And he has defensive. He has to defend some things.
I'm just teasing. Hunter, you're always welcome on the show with us.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. But mounts aren't.
And in case you aren't familiar with what happens during the holidays, is that we're going to have a prediction show where we announce all the things that we got wrong or right last year, and then follow up with our predictions from now, projecting towards 2016, and also some of the predictions from the community as well that you guys have sent in to us. You know, next year we'll get to break it down and see if we were right or wrong again, as usual, but this is the way that it works.
Yes. Were we going to go over what we got wrong? Or just kind of skim over that? Skim.
We don't really need to go over what we got wrong, but
I think if we were
say,
horrendously wrong, maybe we could point it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all of us predicted an expansion. So we're all correct on that.
Good job, us.
Go us! Woo!
Allona, I believe, was correct when she said they will never allow mounts in the game.
Which was, she said, just to get Mike out. Let's be real here.
Okay, the never allow was supposedly because I personally don't think they will, but
should we just open up the debate right now? Because let's get into it. I mean, gliders are clearly mounts.
Nope.
Yes.
Nope.
Obviously mounts.
Nope.
They're obviously mounts. You use them to get around in the zone. You can open them up whenever. They are a vehicle.
You also use to get around in game waypoints.
Oh, well, that definitely makes
Azura
gliders
portals.
not a mount.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do. It's irrelevant.
No, it's
mounts
the same.
usually provide
waypoints are irrelevant to the fact you get a speed increase with the mastery, with the glider.
It's a utility.
Yeah, that's not from having a glider.
Mounts often provide a speed increase, but it's not necessary either. I mean, the game already has a riding broom, magic carpet. There's the...
Those are toys, not mounts.
You're using ArenaNet's terms, marketing terms.
People do not specifically use them to cross the country. No one goes, now I'm in Keswick's Hills. I'm going to mount my trusty broom.
They use them to get
across
the cities. And besides, you're using ArenaNet's marketing terms as though that's like the basic definition of what a mount is. I mean, ArenaNet doesn't get to decide what a mount is.
No, I am not. I am saying that if you use the speed increase as one of the definitions, then when I get my whatever it is, mastery in Tyria that makes me run faster in cities, my feet are now mounts because they've made me move faster.
I don't necessarily think that's wrong.
What?
I have a much more open mind, apparently, than you two. Look, if other games can have crazy mounts, the obvious example would be, would be Star Wars The Old Republic, where you get speeder bikes. That's a mount. Yeah, there's plenty of games that have mounts that aren't just a horse with a saddle.
Can speeder bikes take you places that you can't get to by running or walking?
What does that have to do with anything? There's plenty of places in Tyria where I use my glider to go where I could just walk instead.
But that is just a choice. But there are...
Yeah, that is a choice. That doesn't necessarily invalidate.
The point of gliders is so that you can get somewhere where you cannot get to in any other way. It is a utility. I
don't think that's the point of it. No, I think that they found, we want to put mounts in this game. You know what? Let's give it some other options. I mean, if I put a mini fridge in my car, that doesn't make it not a car.
It makes it a fridge car.
It makes it a car with a mini fridge, which sounds freaking awesome, by the way.
Yeah, and the gliders are just mounts with options.
Yeah,
no.
Well, great argument, Celeste. Thank you.
I said no, too. I was like, no. I don't see them as mounts because they have a specific utility and mechanic brought into the game for specific maps.
That doesn't make them not mounts. I'm sorry.
It does.
No.
For my definition of mounts. I'm going to find what's the definition of
what?
MMO.
There's no
mounts.
Definition. You're not going to find a definition out there of MMO mount. I was having this argument in guild chat in Relics of War.
Mm-hmm.
And someone literally looked up the word mount in the dictionary to prove me wrong.
Well, no, you do have to look in relation to
context.
MMOs.
Yes.
I will agree with you there.
There are plenty of games that have just bizarre versions of mounts that do things that aren't classic mounts. The glider is a flying mount, in my opinion.
Okay, so according to the MMO from alteredgamer.com...
Okay, just stop right there. That's one person's opinion.
Hey! Mounts are any type of creature or object that a player can ride to increase his or her transportation speed through the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you get places a lot faster with a glider in Tyria.
Faster than going up and down hills? Because you don't actually travel faster distance-wise.
I could fall off a cliff and get to the bottom faster.
You definitely get distance-wise faster to places. With lean techniques. Do you have lean techniques yet, Celeste?
No, I don't. But the whole point is that you're calling the glider itself a mount. The masteries that modify your experience while using it do not qualify the glider as being a mount.
Again, it's just options with a mount.
Mounts are cosmetic fast travel.
Mm-hmm.
To me, like, they've never...
Right, and there's no cosmetic options with the glider, so...
Okay,
so
but that's
I must
not
be
their...
completely wrong.
Utilitarian. Well, a lot of people are flying around with butt ugly gliders because they don't want to pay for the pretty ones. You get one regardless. You don't have to purchase... Like, it comes base with Heart of Thorns.
There's lots of mounts out there in other MMOs where you can get them fairly cheaply.
That's very true.
Yeah, but they're add-ons, not integral to experiencing the world.
That could be definitely argued, especially for games like Lord of the Rings, where there is mounted combat.
Oh, is there? Okay.
Yeah.
I think the reason they give it to you without making you pay for it is because it's integral.
It's the fact that it's that being integral, that it's not
well, it's just integral to those
convenience.
Zones, not the entire game.
Yes, true, and that is the other thing. Like, it's not optional.
No, you could do a lot of the game without gliders, like a lot of it.
Not Heart of Thorns.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, you could.
I mean, there's various things that will block you, but like you could do virtually all of Orc Basin without needing a glider for anything. You can do plenty of Tangle Depths without needing a glider. You don't need it for Dragon Stand, except for the final
How many
part.
times were we running through and I couldn't do things because my glider wasn't up to snuff?
But that was for side stuff like the hero points and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's integral to progressing your character.
You could find other hero points and you could go through World versus World if you really wanted to.
Mm.
Yeah, for me, amount is something that is an add-on bonus that you don't need to be able to... But I guess I hear what you're saying too, Celeste, with it being in Lotro, with the mounted combat. But do you need it for that? Do you need to do mounted combat in the game to be able to do the content?
Maybe for some quests, but I don't think it's...
It's a feature of that game, just like
Yeah.
gliding is a feature of HOT. Anyway, we're not going to agree on this. We should probably get some other stuff.
Yeah.
And then we could skip over. We'll never speak of this again until next time when we speak of this again.
Allona also correctly predicted that would be new professions because we did get the Revenant this year.
Yeah. I thought there'd be more, to be honest. Actually, I think I said there'd be a heavy profession to bookend the rest of the other weight classes.
So you're making yourself more right?
Well, no, I'm just trying to figure out what I said. Celeste was willing to give me that I had said that season 1 becomes available for replay in a much abbreviated form, but I don't think that I was correct in that, so we took it off.
Yeah, it still gives a recap, which is something.
It is a recap. Although it's very... I honestly don't know if it's...
There's no playability.
I was trying to be generous, and you guys were like, nope, you're wrong.
Thank you for the generosity. Oh, and I was wrong when I said that. I said I would love to see an underwater city, perhaps Largos, and I knew that one would be wrong when I said it, but it was like, gosh, I hope.
Exactly.
I browbeat Celeste into letting me get this other one. You counted.
Yes.
Where I had said secondary profession options could be added to expand build diversity and weapon options, because not understanding terminology behind elite professions, I thought that this still worked for that. And
I don't know, I think it works.
New weapons were added across all the professions to be able to, like, a single weapon per profession.
Yeah, elite specializations are definitely Guild Wars 2's version of secondary profession.
Yeah.
Yes.
I went, I'm taking this one. You could take the other replay one back, but I'm taking this one. And then I said the quality of life update that allows you to right-click a stack of items to either consume all or open all. We're partly there. It's
very, very partly. There's two things.
Yes, there's a few things. Luck.
Luck and alcohol.
Luck and alcohol.
So,
That's funnier than it ought to be.
It's a good start.
Yep. I hope that they expand that.
Right, and then I predicted an imminent announcement is the terminology I used, and yeah, they announced the expansion about 3 weeks later when we recorded it.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And you also said that a demo at PAX East in March, and you were 100% on the mark there.
Yeah. I think in the actual show...
You mentioned PAX South.
Yeah, but I didn't in the actual notes. Right.
Yeah.
And then, I think, as far as zones, I said that they would be like Dry Top in several ways, and a much more focused experience where people work together across the zone to accomplish a goal, unlock a raid, trigger a meta event, etc. So that's mostly right, like Auric Basin and Verdant Brink, but they're all working towards the same goal there in those zones.
Mm-hmm. Although you were complaining about that earlier today.
Well, it gets a little annoying.
It does. I was actually talking about this with Ben earlier, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of boring.
And I don't like how they're on timers. They should start when they start. But, yeah.
Oh, people would complain if they weren't guaranteed to start at a certain time.
And then I had my whole mounts prediction, which was right. Even though it's not highlighted in our show notes here, it was completely right. Mm-hmm. And then I predicted more uses for Ascended gear. Raids are essentially balanced around Ascended gear, so I guess we can call that a win.
Mm-hmm.
And then Talking Ghost of Drubert backpack. I want to go to that for just a quick second. There is a Ghost of Drubert mini, and that the Ghost of Drubert did return for Halloween. So I'm wrong on
That's
that
true.
prediction, but I was sort of like in the area.
Elements of it. Oh, and you for the Ascended Gear, you said that they would reward people with Ascended Gear.
Oh.
So that is also true. Like the raids reward with Ascended Gear too, don't they?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yes.
And stuff for legendary armor.
I would also say that PvP, they increased the rewards in PvP such that you get a lot more Ascended drops through there too. So I would say that kind of counts.
And then I predicted new legendaries with the expansion. I thought there would be one for each weapon, but we got 3.
We're getting more.
So
yeah.
And
new weapons in general, but no, we got repurposed weapons.
And then just before we started recording, we had a big argument about what constitutes a world boss. Because I predicted there would be a world boss in Silver Wastes when the Living Story ended. And in my opinion, there is a world boss in Silver Wastes, but apparently that's up for debate.
Yeah, well, and it was interesting because when we were going through it, and I was reading through it, I was like, but there is a world boss in Silver Wastes, and so, yep.
I'm just of the mind that unless the boss is on a timer and scheduled, it doesn't count as a world boss. Y'all disagree with me, that's fine, but I still think you're wrong.
We march to the wiki.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting. I actually thought it was really quite interesting because it did talk about world bosses and elite world bosses. So
Epic.
The elite world bosses are on a timer, whereas other world bosses. So it's interesting that there is still that delineation even there. So I hadn't considered it that way.
Yep.
And now it's Celeste's predictions.
I correctly assumed that raids would be introduced.
Yes.
New weapons for Necromancer, definitely adding a weapon for each other profession comes out of necessity. I was completely wrong about the precursor treasure hunt.
Being scrapped completely?
Yes. Completely wrong about that.
But you're happily completely wrong? Or
considering some of the issues people have been having with the treasure hunt, I'm not sure people are really happy about it.
Well, it's more expensive to do the precursor hunt than just buy the precursor off the trading post, which is ridiculous.
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of a...
For the ones that you can actually buy, because you can't buy... Can you buy the precursors for the new ones?
No.
No, so those ones are priceless.
Exactly.
Don't even get me started. I've been working on Hope, and it has been very expensive and very painful.
Yeah. And I decided that there would be a new profession as well, which I was correct about. But the rest, not so much.
I like Ben's fantastical idea.
Oh, that the continent of Cantha was broken up into a floating island chain, and the Canthans have been contending with Steve's minions.
Yes.
But
actually, so maybe we'll just move that one forward.
Kinda? I could just keep that one rolling.
I think for the community predictions, we should just highlight the ones that were, because there were a lot of really awesome ones that were funny or entertaining.
I do want to address the first one, because a lot of people sent us in stuff about how there would be playable Tengu, and that didn't pan out, and so shout out to Archie and Tenek and other people.
Yeah. I still want Tengu. Coming across Tengu in the world makes me sad because I'm like, oh, I want to be you.
Finding the Tengu in Heart of Thorns, this is kind of like, yep, we're gonna troll you.
M is for awesome. Well, she was wrong that she predicted the Pale Tree was going to go evil, but she did also say we will find out what the hell the Pale Tree is. So we know it was a minion of Morty made sentient by... Oh. Well, okay, you can edit that out if you want, Celeste.
No, if they haven't finished the story by now, they're not in a hurry by any means.
Well, in season 2. Like we learned this at the end of season 2, which was January.
Yeah. But still, I mean, it's been 2 months since Heart of Thorns. Moratorium on spoilers is done.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So
cold-blooded.
Yes. Pale Tree, minion of Morty that creates Mordrum but bastardized, if you will, by Ventari's tablet and the village. The humans that grew around or lived around it. So we know that for sure now, that the Pale Tree was a minion. Supposed to be.
Yep. Spirit was absolutely correct and earns a donut.
Yes.
By betting that we aren't descended quite yet, although we do go through certain trials with Ogden.
Yep.
In semi-ascended.
Temporarily.
Yeah.
She also said that we know one of the last things that was being researched via the early personal story, Human with Dead Parents, was the Bloodstones. So she suspects that's where the white mantle of the Silver Waste moved off to. So, but do we know that for sure?
No. I don't think so.
It's kind of what they're saying with the raid storyline.
Oh.
Okay.
But because we only have one wing, it's not really 100% complete. But that's kind of what everybody's kind of thinking.
But because this is the prediction show, we've got to get it out there before the raids are done. We're just going to say, yep, we're going to call it. We're calling it now. Calling the election.
I'm going to say it's true. It makes the most amount of sense.
Cal said we will, or Kaladin, the hero Shamor, we will eventually face enemies or events requiring ascended equipment and personal powers. So, yes.
Yes, indeed.
That's true.
Professor Enzo predicted that Kaith goes over to the dark side, but I don't really think she will.
That he would like to, but she won't. I wanted the baby dragon omelets.
And of course, Panther said that there will, of course, be more change, which you can't really go wrong with that one.
No, that's a good one.
Yep.
Tried to mix some serious ones with not serious ones. So my first prediction is we will finally meet E. Remember that guy or girl?
Well,
we don't know. We're going to meet him or her.
Well, I thought we were going to meet E in season 2, but like it was dropped like a sack of something.
Potatoes?
Yeah, let's go with that. So basically, I'm hopeful that this is not going to be a drop storyline. Maybe they will keep E for Living World. So I guess this is actually it was a joke one, but it's kind of turning out to be a somewhat serious prediction. Yeah. E. I do not think there will be an expansion announcement this year, since we still have some hot content incoming, and as well season 3 at some point.
Yeah, I think that's fairly, a good prediction.
Yeah, it took a while to get this one, but I think they were also, and again, we have no idea, but my guess is that they were going to try to do it without doing an expansion and eventually realized, no, we have to do an expansion. So I do think they'll lay the groundwork for the next expansion. I wonder, and Hunter totally disagrees with me on this, but I wonder if we could end up facing 2 dragons at once. One's from the opposing sides of the spectrum, to stave off the imbalance caused by defeating a single dragon and having its power siphoned to its opposite.
Well, you've got that whole theory about how killing a dragon unbalances the world, and I don't necessarily see any evidence for that theory, and that sort of unravels your whole thing.
But they've specifically mentioned that. They've talked, like there's been in-game talk about...
Where?
Well, I don't remember off the top of my head. But I remember hearing it in-game.
Celeste.
Do you remember, Celeste? I'm not making this up, am I?
It
I might be.
Sounds familiar. I couldn't tell you from what specifically.
Oof.
It sounds right. I think I remember hearing that.
All right, well, send us some emails and prove me right, guys.
So, going on the supposition from what I seem to recall but do not remember exactly.
we should tell you everything you need to know right now.
Also, I actually think, and this is not necessarily part of predictions for the coming year, but I personally think that having each expansion always deal with a dragon as the main story, I think it's going to get a little old. And so I kind of feel like they also need to burn through the dragon storyline a bit faster. So 2 at once! Kubatai!
I don't disagree, but, I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, 4 dragons left?
Yeah.
I mean...
So it gets half of them off out of the way. One fell swoop.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one at a time, and I think they'll find some other way to liven things up instead of just a stagnant pact versus dragon thing.
Yeah.
I'd heard another prediction, I think I saw it on the Reddit, where someone had said that Primordus and Jormag will end up fighting each other underground, and we just don't know about it yet, or something like that.
A fight between dragons would be very interesting spin on the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Right, but it kind of goes against their kind of peace that they have at the moment, although with us defeating dragons right and left, that could throw off that imbalance, and somebody's getting slightly starved for power, as it were.
I don't agree that they would be 2 at a time because of balance reasons. I think they would fight because they are not allies. So if it was a face-off, but not Pact is going after 2 dragons at the same time.
I guess what I'm saying, it's partly that and partly the other. I don't disagree with you. I think if they are going at each other, that the Pact or the storyline could say, here's how we proceed with it. They're already fighting. Let's help this thing along and get rid of both while they're distracted. Take them both down at the same time.
I do agree that the more dragons are killed off, a good way to heighten the suspense would be to make the remaining dragons more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I have to say about that.
Except they almost destroy us all when they're not that powerful. Oh my god, what's going to happen? Pretty sure I've talked about this a fair bit already, but I decided to throw it in with my predictions. World v. World v. World is going to move to be more GVGVG focused, with possibly alliances. And with that change, homeworld servers will no longer be necessary and be dissolved. That's my big, this is my crazy line in the sand prediction.
I actually don't think it's that crazy. I just don't know what they're going to change things to be. I don't know if it's going to be guild-based. I don't think it's going to be guild-based at all.
And I do think it will be guild-based.
This is something that totally was on the Reddit probably a month ago.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, somebody saying that this was leaked information.
Well, and then an Arena employee came into the thread and said, yeah, this guy's full of crap.
Yeah, but...
Could be full of crap in that it's not leaked information, but not necessarily wrong. I actually haven't read that, so.
I think dissolving world servers when it comes to World vs. World is a nice idea, but I'm not sure how they could execute it without it being awful.
I don't know either. Yes, I have no idea either. And the more I thought about it, the more complicated it sounded. But I'm still going with it.
One of the reasons the leaker guy sounded kind of like he was full of crap is that he said that the alliances, quote-unquote, would be 3 guilds. 3 guilds for each side in a world versus world match. And that is not enough people. That's not even close.
No, because that is also... The guilds are vastly disparate in population.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And not just population, but population of people who actually want to... I think it would be you sign up. There's probably... Maybe that's how they would do sign-ups. And so your guild would go in. And so your entire guild would choose, okay, let's sign up for this fight. And they would just match up accordingly. There has to be a matchup of some. Ooh, maybe that's how the MMR thing could work from PvP.
Because we all know that's worked out so well.
Well, it's a process.
I know. I'm ragging on him.
Oh, I was in earlier. Was it today or yesterday? And again, was finished by someone with dragon rank.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my pip, but then I got it back again.
Speaking of dragon,
baby dragon. I want to see the baby dragon. How long would eggs? Is it gestating if they're dragons or eggs? What would be the term there?
I would say gestating is probably a fair term.
Yeah, do baby dragon eggs gestate? Let me think here. I don't know.
I don't know if... Okay, eggs in general. I didn't know exactly what the term was for eggs.
Incubate.
Yeah, incubating. Maybe that's... So yeah, baby dragon. And lastly, I predict we are going to argue with Hunter about mounts.
Oh, good job.
And we did! I was correct!
And we probably will again next year.
Hey, we will. Repeatedly. Let me just add that.
You actually going to type that in now? And now we can go into my predictions. So, I think that probably sometime in mid-January we'll get like a bunch of interviews about where Guild Wars 2 is going next, and a bunch of announcements and information will come out. And yeah, like when the next raid will come out, stuff like that. But I don't see any major, huge announcements or anything.
No, I think we're going to get more of the roadmap sort of thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, and then I wrote some stuff about mounts here that, like, because I had seen that you had not highlighted my mounts prediction, even though it is correct.
Because you're wrong.
Okay.
No.
Moving on. Super Adventure Box will return in April, is one of my predictions. I think Celeste was predicting the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so probably April, and, well, that shaman from all the data mining threads, he's been actually picking out some Super Adventure Box type stuff, so it seems pretty certain. And,
Yep.
Or super trolly.
Possibly. Season 3 of The Living Story, I think will start in late summer, early fall. It took them a long time to bring out Season 2, and there were big gaps between the first part of the season and the second part of the season, so I think it's going to be a while before Season 3 starts. So, yeah, like August, September, something like that.
Really? That long?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I guess I think it would probably be more summer break season.
Well, August is part of summer break, isn't it?
No, but I mean towards the beginning, so more...
Not in the States, just FYI.
Mm.
July? Like
well, how
June,
long
July?
was it after Season 1 before Season 2 came out? Because it was like 8 months, wasn't it?
That seems excessive, was it? Was it that long? It doesn't feel like it.
March 2014. Season 2 started in July.
Okay, well that's what, 3 months? It's more like 4 months.
4 or 5, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, maybe. I don't know. I'm still predicting a long time because the internet typically does not have stuff you want when you want it.
Yeah, this is true.
So, yeah, and for Season 3, I think we'll have some more desert maps, because, Hot, I predicted desert-like maps for Hot, but most of the maps aren't that arid. They're very jungly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Season 3 might go deserty. What do you guys think?
Could, in which case, I guess we have a fan prediction further down, or a listener prediction further down that goes into that a little bit too. And
Okay, well, we can just touch on that later.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I think it just depends on which dragon we're going after next.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm. So,
yeah, I basically would have to predict that we're either going after a sand-related, so probably Kralkatorrik, or maybe an Alpine-related, so probably Jormag. That's my prediction.
Or if the Bloodstones feature into the story, in which case there is still like the journey that we happened in Guild Wars 1 Prophecies. Not exact similar route, but similar, some areas from there.
Okay.
Perhaps. Oh, you actually missed one part of what you said that you think Season 3 will function as an epilogue.
Oh, yes. Yeah. the very first part of Season 3 will probably function as an epilogue to everything that's happened in Hot. And then as we move through the season, it'll turn into a prologue for the next expansion. And just very much like Season 2 was kind of a prologue for Hot.
Yeah.
And then I think as far as zones go, whether it's Alpine or Desert or whatever, we'll probably have, like, instead of Dry Top and Silver Waste, we'll just have one zone, I think.
Added? Like with Season 3?
Yeah, just a much larger zone with more stuff going on instead of just, like, Dry Top with the mini meta and Silver Waste with the mini meta.
Well, in whichever new zone they decide to introduce, they can always implement the masteries that we have now, so it could be very large simply because of its verticality.
Possible. Okay, so moving on, I'm gonna just go ahead and predict stuff for the next expansion, even though I don't think it's gonna happen in 2016. Tengu. It's gotta be Tengu, right?
Tengu!
Gotta have Tengu.
Probably.
My heart needs it.
I mean, the verticality in Hot would fit perfectly in the domain of
with
winds.
Flightless birds. Oh.
In the domain of
I
winds.
swear as God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
What is that, WKRP?
Yes, it's WKRP in Cincinnati.
Okay, so I think the domain of winds would make a really excellent vertical home city for the Tengu. And, an airy kind
with
of...
gliding?
Yeah.
Okay, but how do you think that would... So, Corateria does not have gliding.
Mm-hmm.
Dominion of Winds is surrounded by Corateria. Do you think that matters?
No.
No?
It's not like you're going to glide from one zone into another.
True. Okay.
And you would have to buy the next expansion to get Tengu, so I'm not sure it's going to have gliding, but...
If you wanted to look at if that's fair because of the free-to-play not having gliding versus people who have paid for the game getting the ability to glide, I don't think it really matters that much because, like you had said, if we're going to be going into Dominion of Winds, that probably would end up being part of another expansion.
Yeah.
In which case people would have bought it, and that includes Hot, so you get it.
How closed off do you think Season 3 will be for play for free characters? It has to be completely closed off, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't have to be.
But they will not have experienced Heart of Thorn's story.
Well, true. It's an interesting point, but Season 2 was, like, free for anybody that logged in.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Kind of feel like this is what, again, the painting themselves into a corner.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit.
It's an interesting point.
Seems...
Well, I actually don't think gliding is necessarily going to be a part of, like, this vertical Tengu city. Mm-hmm. Maybe Tengu will just have, like, a racial skill that allows them to get around their city a little better. Or something like that. I don't know. But...
Or it could be like in World vs. World with the little jump pad things, maybe?
Possibly.
Like, you don't have to glide to use them.
Mm-hmm. And you don't need... I mean, the jump pads in the Guild Hall, Lost Precipice. You don't need... Do you need gliding? I don't know.
I've never been.
No, you don't, because someone...
Yes. In the Lost Precipice, the whole point of them is they don't actually launch you to anything.
Well, they do launch you, but...
They launch you in the air specifically to deploy your glider.
True.
And then take the updraft. They don't say from here to this ledge.
But I don't think you need gliding. I think if you interact with them and don't have Hot, you probably just land a few feet away. I think. I don't know. We would have to test that.
Even if you have Hot and don't take the thing, you just land a few feet away.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Or if you do have Hot, though, you still...
Well, if you don't, is the point.
Okay.
So my final prediction would be, for the next expansion, a different kind of mount. I think they'll probably put aside the glider for Hot and go with something completely different, or just but very similar, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So, like, if it was a mountainous alpine sort of thing for Jormag, we might get something like snowboarding. That sounds kind of 90s extreme. Ridiculous, but I feel like that's a possibility. Yeah, or if we go someplace more water related, we get a boat
or submarine.
A submarine would probably make a lot more sense. But yeah, I think we'll definitely get another mount.
Ooh, Or maybe not submarine, but more like a glider. Like it has like a little device that you hold on to and it like propels you along.
Oh, yeah.
Into jet streams or something or not jet streams, but you know what
you see them in James Bond movies or whatever.
Underwater streams, whatever the hell they are called. Yeah, I don't know what they are.
Currents?
Yes! That was so simple, why didn't I know?
No, I thought you were talking about like those motorized thing that you hold on to underwater.
Oh yeah,
and pull you
but
along.
you can like the ley line gliding.
Right.
You can pull into these currents. Thank you, Celeste. and you could zip along faster.
Like in Finding Nemo, where the turtles are all riding on the special.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that. Those would be wonderful devices for travel.
Okay.
And you'd get to meet sea turtles, because that's totally right.
So those are all my predictions.
And they talk like surfers, because 90s extreme.
Because 90s extreme.
So my predictions, I don't have a whole lot, but I'd like to think that they have a little bit more substance.
You've written, mine were like one-liners, so these are awesome.
I think that since the last raid wing is expected around April, I think that's like the latest that they're willing to put it out.
Mm-hmm.
That the Living World will begin in June and have a focus on filling in some of the character story that we didn't get in Heart of Thorns, because I know that that's a huge point of contention for people who are in love with story, myself included. And we'll check in with the Biconics and see how the Pale Tree is faring after the dragon attack and influence during Season 2, because basically there was nothing about the Pale Tree during the expansion at all.
Yeah, we have no idea how she was, healing and or reacting to the pull of Mordermoth.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like some Sylvari, I know that Sylvari can be turned at any time, theoretically, but what about while she's not well? Would there have been any Sylvari being created? And if they were being created during that time, will they look different?
See, I think they can't change that because of the timeline of players being created.
True. In the corner.
Yeah.
Painted into the corner. Okay.
Yeah. They're kind of stuck with that. I do think that the next season will bring us over to the next expansion / dragon, which will be Steve McBubbles. And a lot of story with Largos, I hope.
You're pulling up my fanciful one that didn't come true.
Yeah.
I don't think that we'll get an expansion next year, but maybe we'll get, like in the epilogue, like we did for Season 2, like hey, we'll have a special announcement sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not naming dates, but...
I think it's likely... Well, it's interesting that you said the water dragon, because, like, when they chose to go after a new dragon with Mordermoth, they chose a dragon we didn't know anything about. And they created new creatures, and they used that to hype the hype machine. And so it makes a lot of sense that they choose another dragon in the next expansion that we don't know anything about, so they can create new creatures and use that to push the hype machine, etc., etc.
You know, with them deciding to not make any new underwater legendaries with the next set as well, this could be the opportunity for them to really revamp underwater combat before this expansion.
I don't think they're ever going back to water combat. I think if we go after the water dragon, it'll have water stuff, but it'll be mostly on land.
Ooh.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think there's any rule that the dragon has to be underwater.
The rain is attacking! Tiny little dragons! Dragon droplets!
You know, you're absolutely right. There's nothing that says that it would actually have to be underwater. But with a lot of the underwater creatures being forced out of their homes, it makes sense to me that it would be.
Well, I'm not saying it's going to be completely on land, but with some water stuff. Like,
yeah.
Well,
no, I get what you're saying.
Okay.
And if and I'm totally on board with this, by the way, Celeste, because Largos. And also if you consider, if they did underwater cities kind of like, where they're under a dome, so that would be combat underwater, but not underwater combat. Do you know what I mean? Because it would be like you're on land.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Little underwater cities under the dome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Guild Wars 2 should definitely steal from the Phantom Menace, because the Phantom Menace...
Yes, I was trying not to say it. I love the Gungan cities.
It's actually a pretty cool concept, you gotta admit.
Yeah,
that was actually my favorite part, was the Gungan cities. So, there.
I don't think that we can go after Kralkatorrik, because we just got a lot of desert with the Silver Waste and Dry Top.
There's different types of desert environments, and I think that we will see more desert, just not desert that's similar to Silver Waste or Dry Top.
Yeah, probably more sand dunes, less the place in the States.
Grand Canyon?
Thank you! The Grand Canyon.
The place in the States. You really have to be on the same wavelength as Allona to understand what the hell she's saying.
You're not wrong. So yeah, more sand dunes,
but also,
less Grand Canyon.
There's plenty of deserts that are very well vegetated and have plants everywhere, and we haven't really seen any sort of desert like that.
That's true. I just feel like there's not a lot of stuff that we can do over there aside from helping and fighting Palau Joko again.
Yeah.
And I just don't find that interesting.
Unless something's happened there completely separate and he's not there by the time we get there.
Or maybe we decide to take him down instead, like maybe he agrees to work with the dragon because he's crazy or whatever.
Or maybe he realizes the dragons are stealing the magic, so he wants them gone and we partner with him.
Well, it can go in a bunch of different directions.
Most of them crazy.
And I think it also becomes a viable option depending on what happens with the Bebe dragon.
Bebe.
Because that's happening. I mean, we all saw the end with the egg. It's happening. Primordius would be a cool idea, because then we would be following in the footsteps of the dwarves and would be underground, clearing out the homelands of the Azura and the dwarves.
And the Skrit.
And the Skrit.
Oh, interesting thought. Yeah.
And, maybe we'll run into more dwarves. That could make for an interesting storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, in a chat, I was reading people have an argument for like a half an hour about whether or not Ogden was the last dwarf. Half an hour, and it was not a pleasant argument.
Ooh.
I'm adding to my predictions in the middle of your predictions. I think we lose Ogden.
Oh yeah, we discussed that like several days ago, didn't we?
So, following with your Celeste, what if we lose Ogden right before we discover that there are still dwarves?
Oh, that would be so sad.
And he ceases to exist, never knowing that.
Oh,
I don't think it would go that way. I think he would be the last of his kind, and he would go out as a hero, and yeah, I think that would make it for a really great moment in the story somewhere in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We can hope.
Yes, we can hope.
I mean, you look at how dirty and unpleasant it was for Air, and you have to wonder whether or not they're going to let anybody have a clean end.
True.
But I'm not sure.
And Drubert. Think of Drubert. Still hanging there.
Whatever. It's one dead Quaggin.
I know.
I don't understand why everybody's so upset about it.
Because he took everyone's money.
Well, okay, so he was a thief, and that's why people were upset that he died?
Pretty much.
Okay. I'm not sure how they would add more maps if we went after Primordus, because they'd have to add a lot of, like, subterranean maps, and there would be kind of a whole bunch of different layering happening. Mm-hmm. And I don't see how we could really glide in, down, through. And I think if we're going to have Season 3, they're going to try and bring in a lot of the masteries. I think.
Yeah.
Well, I think that depends on whether or not it's open to free to play.
That too.
Yeah.
And people who haven't bought the expansion, but have bought the original game.
But see, it's the same sort of conversation that we just had about whether or not they should play through it if they haven't played through Heart of Thorns. And I do also think the return of Super Adventure Box will happen in time for April 1st, but frankly, I think it's kind of a silly thing to put it in for April Fools. I'd rather have something fun.
Yeah. No, I think they'll have
more comical.
I think they'll have like a one-day joke and then SAB on top of that.
Yeah, I'd like that, where you have like 2 or 3 weeks of Super Adventure Box, but it's one day of like Norn doing emotes like Azura, like the funny little slash laugh, and they're falling on their butts and laugh. That'd be
This
cute.
needs to happen. This needs to happen right now. Who do I tweet?
I also think that we're going to see a lot more fractals. I know that they just came out with the 100, but I think a lot of people are going to get bored with doing the same ones over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to see some new ones from before Guild Wars 1. Like, could do the Fall of Abaddon, the actual Guild Wars, something that we haven't actually seen in Guild Wars. Try Asa's group's journey through the Crystal Desert to Ascension, because we meet him as a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only instance that we know him under, I'd also like to... I keep bringing this up, and I think I'm probably the only person that's interested in this, but I really would like one where we're in the time of Giganticus Lupicus and Tyria of that time period, because it gives them a lot of artistic license to go nuts.
Yeah, Giganticus Lupicus would be cool. Giants in general.
Totally with you.
They could even go towards some of the earlier races, like the Jotun, and to show off how great they were before their descent.
I would love that.
After, like, the last Elder Dragons Rising, I think that would be incredibly interesting and really could show a lot of how the world has moved.
Well, and honestly, I know people play Fractals for the challenges and the fights and all that, but making them bite-sized lore stories on top of that would, yes.
And that brings
awesome.
in a lot of the people who are really interested in lore going after just to learn and see cool things.
Yeah.
I would like to see the giant vagina fight from Realm of Torment. I have heard rumors that they're definitely working on new fractals. So
I'd like to think that it's something that's coming and that we'll see a lot of new ones, not just like 2.
Where do you think they fit in? Like, how many more raids do you think will come in? Or do you think this is it for a while?
At one point they said they were going to release a new raid thing like every 3 months for a while. So, yeah.
But that's the wing to a specific raid.
Yeah, well, they said they were going to keep going and make new raids that way.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I really do need a Norn to fall down and laugh like an Azura.
I'd say that it's probably going to be like from like this first raid, Wing 1, until the next raid's Wing 1. I think it's probably like 8 months, 9 months. Because they're self-contained stories.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might just have to read what the story is, because I'm never going to play it.
I totally spoiled myself on it. I've watched Aurora's and Wooden Potatoes summaries, which are excellent, by the way.
Oh, good. Should do that. All right. Those are good predictions, Celeste.
Thank you.
And I want a lot of them to happen.
Me too. Oh, another prediction real quick. No mounts.
Well, the mounts are already in the game, so you're wrong.
No, sir. You're wrong.
Our world's divided. We actually got such a wonderful selection of predictions from community members.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are awesome. The first one that we are going to read is from Irish Dog, or Blaze, has 2 names.
Mm-hmm.
He says, in some way we are going to interact with the White Mantle more. It's a part of Guild Wars 2 I wish we had a little more of than just a personal story or a couple zones. It could be tied to raids, most definitely will be, living world, or meta events in a future map. If we race through Maguma Jungle somehow, I feel we could go to the Crystal Desert. ANET may need to improve underwater combat to sate the angry mobs, since the Allona River goes right through the middle of the desert. But the Crystal Desert has so much potential story and mechanics. Finding out more of what happened to the Risen. We will probably have some vague ideas since we're dealing with Dragonless Mordrum. Fighting branded NPCs trying to open trade with Allona, the possibility of us fighting Palo Ojoko or fighting with him, only to have him stab us in the back since he rules all of Allona. Hey, I apparently hadn't read ahead. Honestly, I wasn't stealing your thunder before. Not to mention actual in-game stuff to do with the Mordant Crescent. I entered a rabbit hole of history on the wiki to find these guys. And one thing I want to know, can we ride Junundu on land or in water?
Yeah.
Junundu.
The big worms.
Yeah.
Junundu would make an excellent glider thing for the next expansion.
When we were able to ride them in Guild Wars 1, that basically was a mastery track.
Yeah, it
was basically a
if
mount
you went out,
or
you
something.
died. You know what? I never considered it a mount in Guild Wars 1 either.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
The whole time I played. May or may not come next year, but the Zephyrites will become linked to the Tengu in some way. Perhaps the Zephyrites try to reassemble, and the Tengu have a joint agreement that allows them to both take to the skies.
Don't really agree with that part. Like, I don't understand why they would be linked to the Tengu. Doesn't really provide any further
Other than
information.
they live up high in trees and stuff.
I want to say, and I could be wrong, but I want to say there was somewhere in the Labyrinthine Cliffs storyline, or maybe some of the NPCs,
they trade with them.
That they trade with the Tengu. So they've been in Dominion of Winds.
That's right. You are right. I do remember that.
So there is a possibility that they would have a treaties.
And so when we were talking earlier about desert, going out to the desert, this is where, the Crystal Desert, when I said one of the community predictions mentioned it, this is the one we were talking about. I actually hadn't read the whole thing to know about the Palo Ochoco or the underwater stuff, though. Teehee.
From Tillian of Dragon Season, build templates.
Yay!
God, please.
Make it so.
I think we brought this up last year where someone had predicted build templates, and I had said no way they're working on that.
A hero and achievement panel UI revamp. Maybe. And a more streamlined way to acquire stats. See the wardrobe.
The stats has already been streamlined, though, hasn't it?
No, because acquiring stuff is different for virtually every set of stats that you get.
Okay.
For instance, Celestial is you have to charge quartz every day for several weeks to make a set of armor. But for Zealots, which uses charged ambrite, and you need charged quartz, you can just buy the charged ambrite and be done in a day. So
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, and finding the recipes can be quite complicated at times. That's all I was going to say.
Yes, definitely. He finishes off with, apart from that, they can shoot any content similar to Heart of Thorns my way, and I'd be pleased.
I actually do think there needs to be a hero and achievement. Well, maybe the achievement panel's fine, but I do think the hero panel, the extra clicks still get me. Clicking out to click in, click out, in, out, in, out, in.
It's bothersome.
It's got to be a more elegant way to do that.
Yeah, a lot of that just needs to be cleaned up. I don't like the achievement panel at all.
I really don't like how they've split it all up and how the fractal daily's buried in the lists, and it's just not very easy to find what you're looking for.
The fact that nothing is ever remembered is such a pain in the butt.
Yes.
From the crafting UIs, the achievement UI. I could be looking at a list of achievements, go look at a specific one, then go back and I have to scroll all the way down to the exact achievement I was looking at again. It's ridiculous.
I was just cursing that yesterday. Why don't you just stay where I left you? We got a prediction from Headborough Ant Farm. Gliding will come to core Tyria, at least in part. And then smiley face.
I don't
not sure I agree.
Yeah, I don't want to crush anyone's dreams, but I don't think that's happening.
If we assume that the Dominion of Winds becomes an area, and it's technically in core Tyria, and if you could maybe, but I don't think that's what they're meaning.
Yeah.
If we got Dominion Winds, I'm not convinced there would be gliding there. Just because it's vertical doesn't mean there's going to be gliding.
Yeah. It might be set up more like it could be, if you consider the Zephyrite Sanctum. It was very vertical, but they had a variety of methods of traversing it that had nothing to do with gliding.
Well, they traded with the Zephyrite, so maybe the Tengu have aspect crystals.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The Casual Heroes Guild went a bit further and said that we'd get an announcement for an expansion in early 2017.
So, the expansion is in early 17, or the announcement is in early 17?
I think the announcement would be in 17.
Okay, yep. Well, I think that's not...
It's reasonable.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I had said.
Yeah. We got a prediction from Dibstaru. Well... A slow, sad, and bitter decline full of recriminations and backtracking, followed by the announcement of Guild Wars 3. I don't agree with you, Dibs.
No, me neither.
Every time that guy talks, I just hear Smashing Pumpkins from like the late 90s. The world is a vampire. Just like, lighten up. Like,
yeah, I think you're probably being a little bit hard. Calabajui, of course, chimed in with cat weapons, which I think we can all agree would be wonderful.
No, I don't.
Yes!
Well, cat weapons would be the lamest thing ever.
No. Did you hear what we were talking about with cat weapons? No. It could shoot out cats. It could shoot out catnip that would draw cats towards your enemy so that they could be mauled.
That's a pro for your argument?
Yes!
Moving on.
Polar Buzzaroo, which is a fantastic name. 2016 will bring us lots of QQ on Reddit and company. Well...
We're on track for it.
Looking good.
Nienna SLC predicted that the Glint's egg will hatch.
And we are firmly behind that prediction.
I think we all are, Hunter. Yeah.
Hatch or close to? Or hatching is where season 3 ends.
Maybe. That's where season 3 ends, and would season 3 end in 2016? I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Garth Ghost Puncher. These names are killing me. 2016 will include a Looking for Guild option in the Looking for Group panel, and a retcon of raids to be the story vehicle we're missing now.
I think he's right about the Looking for Group panel. I don't think he's right about making raids the story vehicle, because story is supposed to be open to pretty much everybody, and even by yourself at times, and raids are certainly neither of those things.
That's true.
Joe Radek said, the Golem uprising every Azura has feared since the creation of the Golem.
Well, there was a Golem uprising in the past. Some Azura NPCs in Renaissance talk about it. About being pinned up by their ears or something by golems.
This is the big one, though. The big one! Jonathan Andrist says, Raid Wing 1 nerfs to match Chak Garant. Though I understand all those words individually, none of them make sense to me.
The Chak Garant in Tangled Depths received a nerf so that it doesn't scale up as badly, and now it's far more successful.
Okay.
So I don't know if raids will be nerfed, because I think I haven't heard anybody complaining about that it's too hard, just that it's a little frustrating.
Yeah, I've only ever heard people say that it's just the right amount of challenging.
I think if they didn't have the gates, once you succeed here, you've progressed. I think if they didn't have that if you started right from the beginning, they would be complaining.
Oh, yeah.
But I think because you've succeeded this hurdle, you may now progress without fear of slipping backwards.
At least until next week.
Yeah, some sort of way to just avoid having to restart on Veil Guardian pretty much every night you go back into the raid.
Mm-hmm.
Some way to start on Gorseval so you can actually get some practice in on it instead of having to do Veil Guardian first.
Oh, well, it's a weekly lockout.
It's a daily lockout, isn't it?
No, it's weekly. The raid reset is the same as guild reset, I believe.
I'm pretty sure the reset for, going back into the raid is daily, isn't it?
Oh, you can go on the raid as many times as you want.
But if you kill the first boss, it resets after a day.
I thought it was a week.
I thought it was a week as well.
Well, I don't know.
I've been in raids twice, so I don't know. And a third time was just dicking around for achievements.
Rewards are limited to once per week. Progress within a raid will be saved for players that leave the instance. Restarting an instance will remember progress made if created before the weekly reset. So yeah, you don't have to fight Veil Guardian every night.
I'm pretty sure I heard someone complaining that, yeah.
I think it depends on who starts it.
Well, moving on.
Yeah. Kit the Traveler suggested that heroes should come back. Then I can do things in peace when I don't have time for people's BS. And
she's not wrong.
She's not wrong. Yeah. I wouldn't mind that.
Slurms gave us several entertaining predictions. We'll find out that we were the dragons all along. And all future writing by ArenaNet will contain lyric or song title based puns, which I want. Discord will be purchased and used as in-game voice software, which I think you're really behind this 100. You love this plan.
Discord is a piece of shit.
I like Discord. And finally, the Orator Bird will become a mail carrier. One that crash lands and then walks around dazed. That would be cute.
It would be pretty cute.
Mm-hmm.
From Lysis, we find out Primordus will fight Morgemoth, and all Servari will turn evil because he's finally dead. Traherne will come back as a Risen Raid boss, and there's also a Tybalt Risen Raid boss who will give you a I see only apples debuff. Oh, wait.
A lot of stuff that doesn't make sense there, but let's just move on. Like, Primordus will fight Morgemoth. Morgemoth is dead, so, yeah. Zaitan is also dead, so nobody's coming back as a Risen anything. Moving on.
I thought Risen were still being created, though.
Not created.
No?
I think he means more like with Gorseval and the Spirit River that's happening inside of the raids.
Okay.
So a Spirit Raid boss? I don't know.
Only specifically says Risen, but what? Okay.
Reading between the lines.
And finally, Christian Squire says Veil Guardian's green circle mechanic or distortion will get changed to avoid an 8-warrior 2-chrono raid meta.
Yeah, it's already, like, full of warriors, the meta. Berserkers, basically.
And like Per had said before, those are words, and I'm sure they mean something.
I was thinking the same
Party
thing.
Makeup for raids consists of, usually, these days, 2 Berserkers with Phalanx Strength, and, like, 3 Berserkers with Condi. So that's, like, 5 warriors in a raid party.
Yikes. That's a lot.
Yeah, and then you said Druid and
Chronomancer, and Herald. And I don't know what else would be in a raid offhand.
But see, the interesting thing is, these are the meta for the current wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the current...
We have no idea what the next...
Well, that's just Veil Guardian. It switches over to some slight changes for Gorseval.
So that'll be interesting. Like, to progress, you need a mix, because down the line, this is going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
So, cool. I think that turned out really awesome.
Yes, the community definitely pumped out some really interesting ones this year.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't think there's going to be any QQing on Reddit.
All right, then.
I
think that was totally out to lunch.
I think it's going to get worse.
Oh, yeah. You think?
When is Reddit ever going to get better?
I think that place is going to become so toxic that it gets a lot less popular.
Yeah.
Well, I have not been on Reddit in probably 4 months. Unless someone specifically links something and says, read this. So, there's that.
So, Allona and Hunter.
Celeste.
Yes.
And Hunter.
Well, you said my
and
name.
Celeste. Let's just close out by saying each other's names.
Allona.
Repeatedly.
Thank you guys for doing the show with me this year. We hope that everybody is having a wonderful holiday, and we will see you in January.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Legion calls.
So if you have a community event that you would like for us to share, go ahead and send us an email.
Seize the moment.
And if you've got a burning question or for our Ask an Azura segment, just let us know.
I'm selling. You buying?
We have coupon codes for Doghouse Systems. Use the coupon code MMO Reporter at doghousesystems.com to get an additional 120 gigabyte Super Star Destroyer drive for free on their next build.
Nice gear.
Or a star-studded diaper.
Or a star-studded diaper.
Yep.
No free samples.
Patreon page. If you're in love with the show or the network, please consider becoming a patron on our Patreon page.
Thanks for pitching in.
In the very least, it helps us keep the metaphorical lights on. So check it out at patreon.com/MMO Reporter.
That fulfills my needs. Thanks so much.
audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter. Books!
Books, now with sound!
Knowledge is the greatest treasure.
If you want a free audiobook, you should go to audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter.
That's valuable.
So, Allona, if people want to get in contact with us, how would they do so?
They would email us at gwreporter@mmoreporter.com. Twitter is @gwreporter. Our website is guildwarsreporter.com.
You must visit more often.
Voicemail is 616-666-6778, or use the widget on the right-hand side of the website. Our YouTube channel is MMO Reporter Network, and remember to like our videos and subscribe to the GW Reporter playlist. And if you feel like it, wander around and see what other shows are on the network that you might enjoy.
You are a welcome guest.
Facebook is GW Reporter. Tumblr is gwreporter.tumblr.com.
In a world where you can visit us on Twitter, I am Ultra at UltraTown.
Find me at Hunter's Insight.
Allona may be found at One Big Pair.
As in PEAR.
And Celeste at Selly Ookie.
CELEOOKIE.
Yeah. Or you can visit us in-game. I'm onebigpair.1249.
And Ultra is?
UltraTown.5683.
And I'm Selyuki.5046.
May the spirits of the wild watch over you.
Good hunting.
Keep your blade sharp and your powder dry.
Take care of yourself.
May the Six watch over you.
Until next time. Thanks for watching the video, everybody. Don't forget to check out all the other podcasts at MMOReporter.com or by clicking on any of the links here. And please check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMOReporter. Thanks, everyone, and see you in game.